Hey everyone! In today's tutorial, I'm going to play with some of the add-ons from the February My Monthly Hero Kit, which features these irresistibly adorable critters. I could not stop myself. Now, the frame cuts that match this stamp set are called Raining Fluff, which cracks me up. The stamp set is called Raining Cats and Dogs. And then I got this Cloud Raindrop Confetti Fancy background die, as well as the Fun in the Rain stamp set, which I'll be playing with later. So you can see that I've die cut out all of the little shapes just out of plain white marker paper. I use the Crafter's Companion marker paper when I know I'm going to be coloring with my Copics. So I've cut some blank ones out and I'll show you how I set those up later, but I'm going to work with this background die piece. It has little clouds and little raindrops, and I'm going to add some Brusho. So in my mister bottle, I have some Perfect Pearls mixed up in my water, and that's what I'll use to activate the Brusho. I'm starting with Ultramarine, of course. I'm sure you're all dying of shock right now that that's the color that I'm using. And a friend of mine, Shazia Gill, and I split a set of Brushos and Bister powders. And that's a great way to get these if you want to spend a little bit less, because you get so much in the Brusho sets, and splitting with a friend is easy. So I started with just a little bit of color. I wanted to see kind of where I wanted to put the violet. I don't want a lot of violet because this is going to be a sky image, but I wanted a little bit of it. I think it mixes so well with the ultramarine. So I just add a little bit more as I go, just to get the color intensity that I want. It does lighten up just a little bit when it dries. So after I sort of let that sit for a second and dab off some extra, clean my mat, I'm going to dry it with my heat gun, and you can see what I mean about the colors lightening up a little bit. So don't be afraid to use a lot of color when you're doing a big background like this. This is Fabriano cold press watercolor paper. You can see the shimmer there. So now I left my dies all connected. You can snip them apart later, but I left mine connected for the first cut so that I could make this little template, and I can use this template over and over again even after I cut the dies apart. But with the template, I can just fit the blank die cuts anytime that I want to cut these little images out. I can fit the blanks back into the template, just line up the stamps and pick them up with the lid of my MISTI one at a time, and then just put the die cuts back into the frame. For me, I find this the easiest way to use matching stamps and dies is using the negative space in the MISTI. I know some people like to stamp and then die cut. I really don't, because I have kind of a high error rate when I do that. That's not a skill that I have. And so this way is easier for me. And the way these dies are put together, there's plenty of room for me to put all the stamps on the lid of my MISTI at the same time. You can see them adding up there on the lid. And that way I can stamp the images all at once. And even though this takes a little bit of time to set up, it's worth it, because the next time I go to stamp these, I can crank out just tons and tons of them and color them when I'm sitting in a waiting room somewhere or have a little bit of extra time. So I can ink up all the images at once and stamp them down. I'm not quite sure yet if I'm going to use all of these, but I wanted to stamp them all just in case. And you can see that my little kitty at the top and then that cloud did not get all the way inked, but this little tiny kitty and a couple of the other images did. So I'm just going to pull those out, and then I will re-stamp the ones that didn't stamp well. The die itself has some little clouds. I'm not sure if I'm going to use those clouds with a stamp image on them, but I'll save them and use them later. So I'm making sure I get my little kitty inked. One thing that you might notice when you stamp multiple images at one time is sometimes they can be a little different depth from one stamp to another. And so if you're having issues getting them all the way inked, or you notice that with 2 stamps it's harder, just remove one of the stamps and stamp them one at a time. So these are all done, and I can take my little kitty out and start coloring these. I am going to leave these set up on my MISTI though, so that I can stamp out multiples after I'm done with this card. So you'll see the markers that I'm using on the screen. This is just some quick Copic coloring. Although in real life, this card took 40 minutes. I'm a very slow colorer, and it's not really, Copic coloring is not by any means one of my best skills. And so I'm really slow. So I thought I would speed this up and just list the colors for you. I'm just going to do a couple of different color combinations of cats and dogs. I did want to have a lot of oranges and yellows just because they're complementary to my blue background, but I also wanted some realism in the little cats and dogs. So some of them will have similar colors in them. This little jumping dog cracks me up. He is so cute. He looks so happy to be out in the rain. And then I'm just kind of deciding which other images I want to use. This little kitty's going to be gray or silver, I guess. I saw the cutest picture of a silver kitty at my stamping class yesterday. Somebody showed me her kitty, and he was one of those beautiful little Russian blue looking cats. This dog I'm going to color like Foxy, Jennifer Maguire's Vizsla, because I see so many cute pictures of Foxy. Every time I go to color a dog, I want to color that dog like Foxy. She's really cute, even though I'm not a dog owner, sadly. I'm allergic. I do love seeing pictures of people's dogs. So I'll give the little guy a green color. Again, just brighten him up just a tiny bit. And now I'm going to go back to my B28 marker that I had used for one of the collars. And I'm actually just going to fill in the white area around the die cut. This matches my background pretty well. And this way there won't be that white outline around the critters, and they'll sort of blend more into the background and just let the color of their fur be the standout instead of their little outline. And I think that is kind of a cool look. Now you have to be not overly caffeinated when you do this because you really need to use that super fine tip of the brush end of your Copic marker to grab those little tiny spaces around the images and not bleed into the image. Also, the right kind of paper really helps with that. Some papers will sort of wick that ink around. I know a lot of people use Nina for Copic coloring, but I have problems with it bleeding. I don't know if it's just our environment down here or what. So I use this other cardstock and it works well and doesn't bleed. The last thing you want is a half blue, half orange dog. The dogs were super easy to color. This is sort of like when you go around the edge of an image in black. You're just sort of defining that line. But in this case, I'm just letting them float in space sort of on this adorable background. And you'll be able to see in the finished card that the shimmer of the Perfect Pearls shows up quite a bit on top of that blue and really gives it sort of a cosmic feel that I like. So here are all my raining cats and dogs on this cute shimmery background. And I arranged the sentiments on top of 3 of the cloud die cuts and just stamped them one at a time in my MISTI and then assembled them. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching.